to the brink of life and beyond. I cried hysterically for about 10 years, simply thinking about communicating about my afterlife death experience. I don't know why, because it was so amazing and educational. Perhaps it was the depth of love and enlightenment. Words cannot convey it. Since that encounter, my intuition and psychic talents have strengthened. Some part of me won't allow me to ignore it, even though I tried. Let me share my experience. Remember that I am not a writer or professor, just a person with a few chapters from my soul's book. A woman doesn't sure what to think when doctor after doctor tells her it's all in her brain and she's just getting older. Without her family's love, she'd probably give up. True for me. I knew I was deteriorating and would die if no one found a cause soon. I don't know if the physicians couldn't see past my trauma or if women are more complex than men and therefore harder to diagnose. I only know that I was dying needlessly, and no one was helping. They saw my post-traumatic stress-drained body. My gut told me there was more. I committed to one more doctor and giving up my struggle for life if she discovered nothing wrong. Waiting months for the appointment was hard. Some months here, there, and everywhere piled up to years. 5 years for me. Finding out what was wrong with me took 5 years. Unbelievable, but life's daily agony continued. Starting in late 1989, I fought for every ounce of strength. My father-in-law wanted us to make him proud by fixing up the family farm we bought after selling our home. In 1990, the farmhouse burned down after we spent our life savings remodeling it. Only the clothes we wore and those in the hamper at the empty house we were selling remained. After losing my father-in-law in 1992, we began to reveal the truth about my mother-in-law. Despite the hardship, I survived by sheer determination. In March 1994, the lady doctor examined everything and found no problems after 5 years. I was assured her office will contact me after the usual pap smear. Since I had frequent pap screenings and was informed I was healthy again, my family and I flew to Colorado. Colorado made me weaker. My body was losing strength. I scarcely smiled all weekend. Our answering machine was full of doctor's office messages when we got home. The urgency in each message was clear. I was told to come immediately when I contacted the office. The doctor informed me my pap smear required more testing. A cone biopsy could cure cervical cancer, I was told. After more tests and the cone biopsy, she said the cancer had penetrated my outer tissue and lymph nodes and was late stage. She initially chastised me for not having routine checkups that may have detected this malignancy earlier and cured it with little surgery. She relaxed when I told her that I had many doctors and pap smears. She seemed to think this cancer should never have spread. I concurred. The doctor informed me I required drastic surgery quickly. She suggested a radical hysterectomy and lymph node excision. Since she never removed lymph nodes, another doctor would help. I was warned that if I survived lymph node removal, my lower body would enlarge till it could not. Skin swelling and tightness can cause excruciating agony. I had pre-surgery tests and surgical set for the next week before leaving the doctor's office. Friends encouraged me for another opinion, so I called a reputed New York hospital. They scheduled an emergency appointment after I explained my background and diagnosis. The appointment confirmed that surgery was necessary immediately. A radical hysterectomy would remove my uterus, cervix, and most of my vagina. Depending on how the surgery went, I wouldn't know if my ovaries were removed. To determine cancer spread, hip-to-hip and under ribcage lymph nodes were excised and analyzed. What was happening shocked me. Had no time to think. I was relieved that someone finally diagnosed me with a serious illness after years of seeing several doctors. Another part of me wanted to cry as I remembered the cruel things those doctors told me over the years. The most prevalent response was, "It's all in your head." Another said, "You women make me sick. You're all afraid of getting older. It's just your hormones changing." They were so wrong, but it didn't matter. The worst doctor sat absorbed, drawing lines with colorful markers on my chart with a ruler. When I tried to say I was there because I felt something was wrong with me, he rudely and abruptly cut me off and said, "Did I tell you to speak? You will speak when I asked you to and not before." When I started to say, "But," he said, "I didn't tell you to speak." I felt so bad that I almost gave up trying to figure out what was wrong with me. After 5 years of being told nothing was wrong with me besides stress, I knew something was killing my body. I felt it so deeply that I started watching ladies at the shop to see if I might find someone to finish parenting my son and be a nice wife to my husband when I died. My heart broke at the prospect of losing them forever. It felt awful to be right all along. To think I only had a few days to prepare myself and my family for the prospect that I would die from a cancer that could have been prevented early. Numb yet not terrified. As I bought my 12-year-old son's Easter items before surgery, I tried to smile. I wondered if I'd get to do it again. I hated not being there Easter morning to witness his face light up as he unwrapped his toys and hunted for all the money-filled plastic eggs. His gorgeous little green suit and multicolored tie were either his Easter suit or my burial suit. Without thinking, I was convinced to have surgery in New York. Day of surgery arrived too soon. I undressed and put on awful hospital gowns. Before surgery, my father and spouse nervously waited with me. As I lay on the gurney, my lips quivered and my eyes filled with tears as I told them I loved them, probably for the final time. I wondered if I'd see them again. I gazed up at the ceiling, closed my eyes, and whispered, "Thank you, Lord," when I woke up from surgery. The tubes that looked to be sticking from me started tugging. I had them down my nose, neck, spine, 2 on each side of my abdomen, in my hand, and the horrible peg. After a few days, lymph node testing showed that 1 in 3 nodes were malignant, recommending radiotherapy. I acquired annoying allergies. In the surgery room, they splashed orange solution over my stomach and vagina to sterilize. Another covered my spine and neck with cheap plastic tape. It stripped my skin. Morphine also caused awful headaches, so I stopped it. They said my abdomen's 2 drain tubes weren't sewn tightly enough during surgery. My bodily fluid leaked heavily around the tubes instead than into them. The fluid leaked so fast that they had to put thick pads around the tubes. What tape did they use? Plastic tape removed more skin off me. I had bright red raw flesh everywhere. The staff urged me to replace the pads myself because they were so regularly used. After watching one nurse drop an exposed gauze pad on the sticky floor, bend down, pick it up, and try to put it on my open wounds before I stopped her, I didn't mind putting them on myself. The next day, I uncomfortably pushed my IVs and monitors down the hall for my daily exercise. As I returned to my room, I saw that the pads around my abdomen drain tubes were saturated with fluid from my body. I couldn't stop the wetness from gushing down my legs. I went back to my room and got into bed, and tried to lift my wet hospital gown to replace the pads, but I was too weak. The fluid soaked my blanket and sheets while I waited for my strength to return. As I weakened, I called for a nurse. I patiently waited for a nurse to bring in a dry medical gown, sheets, and blanket to replace my soaking ones. While waiting, my body fluid leaked around the 2 tubes, making me colder and trembling with shivers. Something felt wrong. Because I was cold, my teeth chattered. About an hour later, I buzzed the nurse again. The unpleasant nurse said, "I'll get there when I get there." An hour and a half later, a nurse entered my room. She threw the hospital gown, sheets, and blanket on my face and chest without checking. The nurse coldly responded, "I don't have time for this. I'm having problems with my husband." When the linens hit me, something unusual happened. I gasped for oxygen, but couldn't breathe. I was too weak to lift my hand to remove the linens from my face. My chilly, shaken body tingled. Tingling became so loud that it drowned out hospital noises. I knew my death was imminent. My final regret was not saying goodbye to my son, husband, and family. Everything went quiet. Next, I looked down from above the bed. My thoughts were interrupted when I noticed my lifeless body was in the bed below. I was plunged into darkness. I smelled something awful in the darkness. Around the same time, my fluid-soaked body sensed chilly air. I longed for a coat to stay warm. Then I felt myself rising. I felt like I was in an endless, pitch-black tunnel as I was pulled upward. I rose faster and faster. It seemed unimaginably fast. Clouds brushed my eyelashes and cheeks as I sped upward into the seemingly endless blackness. Like chilly dew, it felt good. Then I looked up. I saw such a beautiful white, pure light there. At first, it appeared far away. I felt safe, loved, and calm at once when I saw this brilliant light. No pain or anguish, only overwhelming serene love that intensified as I approached it. This dazzling white light was almost blinding. Just to look at it, I squinted. Because it felt bright enough to burn my eyes, I looked away from the light for a moment. The cool mist on my face may have helped. After looking away, I saw nothing but blackness around and below me, so I looked up at the light and never looked down again. I felt more serene love as the light got closer and brighter. I stopped accelerating higher. The light was so intense that I still squinted, but my eyes adjusted. I saw heavy white clouds moving around. A cloud wind gently blew my lightweight, long flowing gown. I also noticed my naked feet. As I gently walked through the clouds, I saw this lovely gate that was shimmering. I marveled at its beauty. All around, prismatic light bounced off the magnificent diamonds. Absolutely stunning. I tried to recall every amazing aspect of the driveway gate on the farm, which I always wanted. I watched purely diamonds glitter as I got closer. Amazing tranquility drew me in. I never felt afraid beyond the gates. I tried squinting hard to see through the dazzling light and swirling clouds, but failed. Then I saw something in the near right distance. So I squinted harder. Just enough clouds parted to reveal a silhouette of two persons. The man appeared to be accompanied by a woman. Though I didn't know them, I felt like they were waiting for me. As the clouds were going to thin enough for me to see, they deepened and closed in around the couple. Only the clouds going by in the sunshine were visible again. I puzzled why the clouds thickened so quickly as I approached to see who was there. At that moment, I saw someone in front of me. I couldn't see him since the clouds thickened around that shadow. There are no words to explain the deep affection I felt in front of him. No one could conceive such a passionate love. I suddenly realized I was in heaven before God. He seemed to know my entire soul as I stood before him. I felt stupid for not realizing I had passed through the pearly gates till then. I looked down to my right for a moment, not sure if the light was dazzling or if I felt unworthy of such wonderful affection. I heard, "Fear not, for thou art worthy of my love." My throat tightened and my eyes filled with tears. Answers and reassurance followed my, "Are you sure?" My life seemed to be evaluated and clarified instantly. I would say our Lord is love, unquestionably love. Not sure how to explain. Though clouds and light obscured his face, I felt his affection. He was standing in front of me, very near. His voice was full of love, but I don't know if he spoke. We seemed to hear, feel, and respond without speaking. I was ordered back. I had stuff to accomplish and shouldn't have died. I was also told to defend my husband and son. It got dark again just as I was ready to ask more. While gasping for air, I realized I was back in the hospital bed. My right arm was strong enough to remove the blank medical gowns from my face this time. I could breathe. I heard medical noises and felt pain again. Shivering, my teeth chattered uncontrollably. My body felt weak again. My hospital gown and sheets remained wet. My return made me sad. I had no pain in heaven. Not all my body was cut apart. No tubes hung from me. I was whole, was strong. I was unimaginably loved. My humble nod to the sky indicated that I understood.